forgiving yourself from the mistakes of the past and also past hurts. Many of us women, and I would say people on a whole, but particularly women, we carry around a lot of hurts from the past, things that we hold on to that could, many times in my sessions, counseling sessions with women, these are things that could keep us back from moving forward in relationships, in a lot of the things that we want to aim for in life, because we hold on to a lot of the hurts and the mistakes that we've made. So these are what you call key aspects of self-love, which is self-acceptance, self-compassion, self-respect, prioritizing well-being, positive self-talk, and replacing negative thoughts with positive thoughts and affirmation. And one of the most important things that we can do, which is one of the key aspects of self-love, is forgiving ourselves. So I want to go and we'll look at 10 easy ways to practice self-love. Self-love comes easy for some, but it can be a longer journey for others. And it depends as well on your life experience, what you've experienced growing up, the people that you've been around, who've been around you, the the kind of experiences that shape you as a woman, as a human being. All these things affect us. And during menopause, there are a lot of triggers that can cause you to, not to love yourself the way you should. So during menopause, there are a lot of triggers for loss of self-esteem. Some are physical, and we know that as we go through this transition, our body is changing. It's not looking the way generally it used to look. Our skin is not as perky and firm and smooth. We are putting on weight in places that we don't like, and that physical change and that shift in body image can really exacerbate or make us even feel worse about ourselves. And others, things that could happen to us too, this anxiety, it can really do a job on us. So, but however, the good news is that there are some simple ways that you and I, can help to nurture positive emotions and physical well-being during this life transition. So here are 10 top tips to achieving self-love. So tip number 1, recognizing and accepting your emotional state. What does this mean? During menopause, our emotions fluctuate just as how our progesterone and estrogen fluctuates. So this is because hormone, the estrogen and the progesterone, even though they are fluctuating, they are also in a decline. So it is common to experience mood changes such as sadness, stress. You're extremely stressed, you find it harder to deal with stressful situations. You're very anxious for things that, sometimes people are asking you, well, why are you behaving like that? Things are working out and you're still stressed and you're anxious. You have, of course, the difficulty in concentration, which can be so frustrating, So one of my clients was telling me that today. She said, it is so frustrating. She was in a meeting and she had, wrote down the wrong information. And it's only after the meeting, someone told her, well, that information you wrote down was wrong. And she thought in all her mind, she was saying everything I wrote down, everything correct. But when she looked at what she had written down, she wondered, how could she have written down something like that? So these are the kind of, situation that happens during this transition. So becoming aware and tracking your emotions can be really helpful to work out any patterns or changes and finding out what your triggers are that can affect you on a daily basis. What you can do, one of the things that is important and that I've learned through dealing with self-care and self-love is writing down my emotions, journaling, and that journaling helps me to keep on track. Write how you feel. Sometimes you keep so many things inside, and it's when you're writing down, it's actually a way of releasing some of that stress and anxiety that we feel at this time. Journaling can help do that. At the start of the day, journaling or keeping a track cycle can be a great way to monitor your emotions on a daily basis. And Kimara, good night. Thank you again. I'm seeing you, and I want to welcome you. We are dealing with self-care and self-love. So what are the things? The first thing that I just would add, you just came in, I will just go in quickly and give you a short recap. And for those of you who are not joining, recognizing and accepting your emotional state during we're dealing with self-care and self-love during menopause. So I was just talking about writing down your feelings, because many times we keep a lot of things as women to ourselves, thinking that nobody would understand, or you don't want to be a burden to anyone. So writing down a lot of your feelings may help release some of those pent-up emotions and stressed out feelings. The next thing that you can do is take time for yourself. What does self-care mean to us as ladies, as women? What can anybody tell me what you understand from the definition I've given you, and for what you experience as a woman? What does self-care mean to any of you? Anybody can give me a definite at least your interpretation of what self-care is to you as a woman who has going through or been through menopause, or as a woman in general.
Well, this is Miss Atwell saying good night to everyone again. I would, you know, look at my life. I would look at where I go, how I eat, what I
Mm-hmm.
wear,
Mm-hmm.
the people I associate with, all aspects of life, and I try to do as best as I can do with it, which is, in my opinion, will be the right thing to do. Now, sometimes we think what we are doing right is right, but sometimes we could, other people will beg to differ because it's not right in their eyesight. So, what I would do, I will try to see, how much help I can get if I'm not certain about something that I'm doing for me. But my self care is watching how I
Mm-hmm.
really supposed to live, trying to do such to improve my whole lifestyle. That's my interpretation of self care.
Okay. Anybody else wants to give me your interpretation? And thank you again, Miss Atwell. Thank you very much. Anybody
You're
else would like
welcome.
to would like to give me your interpretation of what you think, or what does self-care mean to you?
Good night, everyone. Cynthia here.
Good night.
Yes, for me, self care is I leaving everything undone and making sure I go and walk in the savannah.
Okay.
Go and take that stroll that I take every morning in the savannah, regardless of who call. Somebody one day, whoever want, leave everything undone. And
Okay.
I am going to every single morning make that a priority for me, myself. Go by the pedicure, manicure, and hairdresser, whatever. That is for me.
Hmm.
That
That
is
is
my little interpretation of self-care for myself. Yeah.
taking care of yourself and prioritizing the things that you know that is helpful to you, both mentally and physically. That's a good one. It's as well was talking similar, very, very similar, very good. Anybody wants to give us another what does self-care mean to you as an individual, as a woman? All right, if not, we have other things we can talk about. So as we go on, another way of practicing self-love. When we are talking about self-love, by the way, self-love. Another way of practicing what self-care means to us is taking time for yourself. We know as women, we generally prioritize our relatives, children, family, friends. We put everybody in front of us and we see about ourselves last, right? So maybe it is taking time, from what I interpret as well, taking time for you. It could be many things from different things from different women, but it is taking time for you. It could be having a soak in a bathtub with a face mask on, time out with friends relaxing, or just time alone doing the things that you love. For example, gardening, doing some hobby that you're scrapbooking, knitting, something that you love. But that time for you, that is you time. Whatever it is that allows you to feel better about yourself and to help you recharge and and that is what you can use. We can use that as taking time for yourself, making sure you schedule that time each week to do just that thing or other things that you probably add in every week. So remember, self-care is not selfish. So menopause is a transition all women go through, and while unwills we adapt to these changes, it is important to take care of our mind, our bodies. Spend a few minutes at the start of each day, I would say, and at the start of each week, and look at your diary and block out time in that just for you. You'll thank yourself for doing this. What about getting enough sleep? Some of the common symptoms of menopause that contribute to sleeplessness. At night, we know that a lot of us get insomnia, cannot sleep, or sometimes we go to sleep and we sleep at very short phases. You get up to use the bathroom, you cannot go back to sleep. You're just left watching the ceiling, playing on your phone, going to trying to go back to sleep, doing a lot of things. So reading a book to get to go back to sleep. Restless legs. Yeah, the legs that that is another. It's a syndrome that the legs moving um really you know plentifully. You know, restless leg. They call it restless leg syndrome, and that's a topic by itself. And then we have the hot flashes, right? So declining hormone levels affect a lot of things, the amount and quality of sleep you can get per night when you are in perimenopause. What can we do? What can you do to help? Well, one of the things you can do is have a regular sleep pattern. So you go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. That will help to put your body in a certain mood, a certain order. Taking magnesium supplements like what we know, the magnesium glycinate supplement to help with the restless legs. And this is usually caused by a magnesium deficiency. Avoiding foods that could trigger things like that, like avoid spicy foods, caffeine, alcohol, and toxins like nicotine as well. So those of us who are around cigarette smokers, all these things can contribute to for you not getting a good night rest. And what about wearing light to loose clothing? Somehow I can tell you now that light loose clothing is my real friend. I like clothes light, I like it loose, I don't like things to be tight on me as when I was younger. So the light, loose clothing helps me to feel comfortable, helps me to feel like the breeze is passing through. Another thing that can that you can practice, that we can use to practice self-love is we could never underestimate the importance of regular exercise. And from what Cynthia was talking about just now, that exercise is her go-to. She prioritizes that every day with that walking. And it is a way too of de-stressing. Ladies, exercise helps so much in regulation of, your hormones and your mood, the mood swings. Find some form of exercise you can do on a regular basis. So exercise can help you mentally as well as benefit your physical health. So it releases endorphins, which we call the happy hormones, that will ease stress, boost your confidence. And if you really are stressed, adding on one more thing, like going to the gym, going hiking, all these things can help help during this time. During your menopause, the best exercise you can do is a combination of some for your mind, such as people who pray, people who practice yoga, some for your bone strength, like weight training. Things like weight training, is very, very important at this time. During menopause, up to 20% of bone loss happens due to the decline in estrogen, as it plays an important role in maintaining bone structure. So having low estrogen levels can lead to porous, or which is weak or weakened bones, and eventually to osteoporosis. So strength training is a great, great help to increase our bone density as we age, as we go through this transition. And it declines and or reduces the risk of us getting osteoporosis. What about eating nutritious food? We cannot underestimate how important it is to eat nutritiously during this time, and it is another way that we can practice self-love. We know that sugar is addictive. We know that for sure. Processed food is very convenient, but it's not the best thing for our bodies at this time. So it is important that we put nutrition as exercise as well high up on your to-do list in terms of practicing self-love. So you could, many of us, as myself, use supplements to help with menopausal symptoms. But along with supplements, it is important to know what we put in our body. Lifestyle and dietary changes during menopause can have a long-term health benefits to us. So should we eat in terms of practicing self-love during this time? So eat lots of different color fruits and vegetables. Make your food look nice, spicy, interesting, and all of that as well as being nutritious. So a lot of fruits, vegetables. Some of us, like myself, try my best to practice clean eating, which is eating foods as close to nature as you can get it. So that means eating a lot of fresh fruits, a lot of veggies, and many of us like to grow their own fruit and food and to get it from, if not, you can't do that, get it from as close as possible from organic sources as you could, because the less chemicals these foods have on it, because we know that chemicals affect the hormones as well. So we have to be so very careful at this time. Even the vegetables we buy, the fruits, would affect, according to where we get them from, would affect us. What about choosing whole grains instead of white flour and foods with white bread, white flour, simple starches? So choose whole grains like quinoa. I know a lot of us, by talking to many women, we already making that transition. Sweet potatoes, brown rice, brown bread, eating a handful of nuts a day, and add seeds to your food, which can, it aims to increase your omega-3, which is very heart friendly. Choose a lean or plant-based protein at each meal. So I've learned as we go on and we're dealing with protein, and I have learned that dealing with Dr. Khan when I changed my whole eating habit, that having a protein with each meal, which is whether it's peas, beans, if you're a vegetarian like me, or if you're actual lacto-vegetarian, people who have some forms of meat, fish, egg, but have lean protein with every meal. It helps actually to help you maintain a healthier weight. So it decrease the amount of carbohydrates and increase the number of protein. It helps our body to go through this transition easier. Along with exercise, another practice of self-love that we spoke of before. Enjoy healthy, unsaturated fats such as avocado, nuts, extra virgin olive oil. Avoid convenience products that have high amounts of sugar and salt and sugary fizzy drinks. Avoid what we call the artificial sweeteners. All these things contribute to self-love and to our general well-being as we go through this transition. Support your microbiome in your guts to flourish by eating fermented foods like kefir and fiber, sauerkraut, because 70% of our immune system is in our gut. So looking after that gut flora is crucial to our well-being. So as well as trying to reduce the amount of alcohol and caffeine in our diet. What is another thing we can do to practice self-love? Engage in positive self-talk. But what I would also say as well, have positive people around you, which is so important at this time. Have a good support system. Self-talk or positive self-talk or self-talk is the inner dialogue we have in our brains. We very, very much know that when we talk about talking to ourselves, and many of us do that, if not everybody, we talk to ourselves, you have a conversation with yourself. We do it unconsciously, and it is often indicative of some subconscious thoughts and feelings. And sometimes that self-talk we can talk negatively to ourselves, which leads to feeling of self-doubt, self-judgment, and lowering our self-esteem. So what can we do? Positive affirmations are a great way to change the way you talk to yourself. What can you say? I look at yourself in the mirror. I've seen a lot of women do that. A lot of parents pass that on to your children as well. I am kind. I am good. I am caring. Talk positively about yourself, which helps a lot during this time in our lives. It puts you in a positive frame of mind that will eventually encourage positive self-talk. To start, you will have to become aware that you use negative thought to yourself. So that is something you have to be aware of. How do you speak to yourself, ladies? Do you speak to yourself in a positive way or in a negative way? And then when you find out how you do that and what triggers it, then you come back and talk to yourself in a way that is positive. So you might be saying, look at myself. I'm so overweight. I don't like how I'm looking. And that could stem from things that happened to you in the past. And so what can you do about that? Once you have the awareness that you are able to change or reframe your inner chatter and use positive affirmations, you can then move forward in a forgiving way. For example, I am no good at this. What can you say instead of that? I didn't manage to do it at this time, but I will try again. Instead of saying, bad things happen to me. Why do bad things happen to me all the time? What can you say instead? The thing that just happened was out of my control and it was not my fault. So once you start to talk positive of yourself, it is another way that you can practice self-care and self-love, which is reducing that negative feeling, that negative voice that, comes when you speak to yourself. So there are different ways of looking at things, but in a more positive light. What about challenging any negative narratives you tell yourself about yourself? Now, similar to the above point that we just spoke about, it is around awareness to limiting beliefs we hold about ourselves. For example, we gather many beliefs about ourselves from an early childhood and from any life experience we have, both negative and positive. So we know that the experiences that we have in childhood can walk with us, grow with us as we get older, and it could have a very negative effect on how we deal with our relationships and how we deal with people and how we deal with our own selves. So these beliefs are not always factual and are merely labels that others have put on us, and sometimes it sticks with us as adults. So I've seen parents, speak to children, and I've experienced people speaking to me in a negative way from childhood, and I had to get that out of my system. You're telling you're not doing this fast enough, you're moving too slow, you're always slow, falling and getting, you're slow, you're not, different things that could hamper a child's self-esteem, and they grow with that. And sometimes if you don't look at yourself or get these things under control, you can even pass on that negativity or that same judgmental narrative to your own children. So it is, and because you adopt that belief of what they say about you is true. So, example, you may have forgotten names of people due to a brain fog, so you now would tell others you're forgetful and not good with remembering details, but your hormones are just causing this to happen to you now. You have this negative belief about yourself, but this can lead to lower self-confidence and stop you from being in a certain situation to avoid it from happening again. So think about the times that you do remember in your everyday life. It doesn't happen all the time. Not every day you forget. Not every day this brain fog would be as bad. It happens, but it's not the overall person of who you really are. So I bet you remember more than you forget. But building awareness around this frame and belief can get you out of that self-fulfilling prophecy. So look at more at your positives than your negatives as we go through this phase. And don't let anybody put you in a frame that is you. That is how you are. You are going through a phase and you will eventually get out it, but talking positively, being around positive people and being kind to yourself in your self-talk will help you as you transition. What about forgiving yourself? When our hormones are declining in menopause, it can lead to mood changes, and we can find it hard to control our emotions. We can become very irritable with ourselves and with others as well. Treating yourself with kindness and empathy will allow you to forgive yourself for whatever may happen in life. So holding on to a grudge against yourself can be as damaging as holding on to a grudge against somebody else. And I want to repeat that, ladies. holding onto a grudge against yourself can be as damaging as holding on to a grudge against someone. And we know that people may rub us the wrong way on many times. And, sometimes they do us a lot of things that you would never think about doing somebody else. And many times we hold a grudge against people, right? It's that term is saying, sometimes we are so hard with ourselves, it's like we're holding a grudge against yourself. And that could be as damaging as holding it against someone else. So forgiving yourself is important, right? So when we suppress our emotions and block them out, it puts stress on our minds and our bodies. It is good to say what you feel. Holding it back can, in the long term, affect your mental and your physical health. So our emotions get trapped within us and we are unable to move on from that particular experience. So therefore, letting go of the negative feelings we have about ourselves with forgiveness will free up our energy. It will free up our emotional capacity so that we can improve our emotional intelligence and build compassion, which is love for yourself and for others around you. So it is so important for us to forgiving ourselves and forgiving others. Because many times when we think about forgiveness, we think about forgiving others, but how many times do we think about forgiving ourselves? Right? So that is something to think about. Committing to the journey. The journey of self-love isn't always something that just happens overnight. And we can take a long time to come to terms with this. All the bad habits of unkindness and negative self-talk that we have picked up over the years have been unleashed, and it takes commitment. So small steps are the best way to build a healthy habit and create long-term positive changes. So practicing daily ways that can bring self-love into your life is important. So talking positive about yourself, you know, you know, just as we talk about not holding grudges, we start to practice all these steps that we have been talking about, easy ways to practice self-love on a daily basis. Use a journal, write them down. Go back to this lesson and write down the points that can help us to reorganize our brain in the way we look at ourselves. What about learning and finding creative ways to care for ourselves? Do what you need to recharge and replenish yourself. This could be practicing and partaking in hobbies, going for a massage, spending time with those you love and that light you up. What about getting out into nature? Journaling again has been a great help to many women and to myself who are going through this transition at this time. So positive changes, it can help with your self-esteem and positive changes. So if you have never tried a journal, it can seem difficult to know what to start. I encourage you to try journaling as little as about 15 minutes a day as you see the benefits it can bring to you. All you need to get started is a paper and a pen. It doesn't have to be a fancy notebook. It can be just a normal book, scrapbook, book, as you journal in private, just for your eyes only. There is no right or wrong way. Anyone judging you, and you don't have to be a great writer as well. And you don't have to make grammar changes or spelling changes. You just write how you feel. And one of the things I do, I start with saying thank you. I'm thankful that I have another day. I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for a roof over my head. Start simple and, start to be, thankful. So I start with thankfulness in my journaling, and it helps a lot. It helps a lot. So if you would like to, try journaling during menopause, get a notebook and you can start with something as basic as that. And the site, I just went on a site and that spoke about how to use journals, which is www.thepauseplace.co.uk. So this site helps you to start journaling if you've never started it before. And to give you insights as how to start it, I'll go over the name of the site again, www.thepauseplace.co.uk. All lowercase, all common letters, and it's underscored as well. So you go into that and it will give you ideas, or you could just go online and find out tips. What tips can I use to start journaling so that you don't keep all these feelings and emotions inside to get you in a negative space and a negative place. So these are the 10 self-love practices that I went through, and I found that they were so beautiful that I had to share them with us in our session tonight. So I don't know. I don't think this is a limited list. There are other things that we can add on, because at this list, I believe, can go on and go on and go on. So I don't know if anybody would like to add in anything extra to what we spoke about here in terms of, I particularly like the part with forgiving yourself. That one really hit home to me because sometimes I can be so hard on myself. And I don't know about you ladies, but sometimes you have so much expectations of yourself, and when you don't reach those goals, you feel like a failure. And that is when talking negatively can come in the picture. So that is one of the ways I need to, get myself, in a better frame. Sometimes you want to be so right and so perfect that, it could be very, very hard on yourself as a person. And since you're going through this transition, it is not a good place to be when you are negative and we talk negatively to ourselves. So forgiving yourself, to me, that part hit home with me. Anybody else would like to say anything before we close up from this session?
I would want to endorse that also. I want to say that, we all are human beings. We all reach a stage in our life or phase in our life that additional stress could be implemented. So um, we need to know boundaries. We need to know where to draw our lines as far as allowing yourself to be excused, or as listeners will say, she just use it for want of a better word, but it's like to, to excuse yourself, or to excuse yourself, but in doing so also, you're hoping not to really go back and make the same mistake or similar mistakes as the case is. So it's something I want to also say that I don't think I really was understanding how to excuse myself, right? And tonight is a night I think I learned a little bit about excusing myself. I would need to do more. I would need to probably have more instances where probably I might say something that is very out of context. Probably I might do something that, was not right, and probably I may not know that it wasn't right and did it. And then somebody might say to me on the side, well, that wasn't right.
Hmm.
Not too, I'm not too old to learn.
That's right.
Some of the things that we have to consider too is being not too old to learn. Don't miss the point, or we can't try to talk over when something is negative, we can't try to talk over, um, uh, make it feel as though it's positive. It's a lot. It's a
Mm-hmm.
holistic thing because we have to learn to listen to. And as I was saying, I can't remember if it's listeners I was speaking with, but somebody or bodies I've been speaking to and say most of us, our opinions are the very wrong ones, incorrect. And we need to, because we will see somebody else and say, well, oh God, I don't like how she might be. I don't like that. That is not right. But most of the times we are the ones who is in the circulation of having it wrong. And we need to understand that our right mightn't be somebody else's right or wrong. So we have to now form this line where it is right or it is wrong and accept. So all these things holistically comes together, right? And to determine a forgiveness.
Okay.
That's all of this must come together, and you must understand if you're wrong or you're right, um, and forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for making an honest mistake. These are the
Mm-hmm.
things. Just forgive yourself and move on. I've learned tonight that forgiving yourself is a real big thing. It's an honor.
It is.
And I also learned tonight not to go back and do something like that anymore or similar too. That's what I just said. Thanks, Smith.
You're welcome. And I think another aspect of that as well is being able to take correction. It have just some people, your word is the end, the be it all. I am always right. We must know that, we are not perfect, right? And sometimes you may say or do something and didn't know in your action or words that you hurt somebody. And being able, as what you're saying as well, to be able to take correction in a positive way, what we call constructive criticism, can help as well. Once we are open and realize, hey, I didn't know, being able to take correction is so important to moving on to a more positive mindset. So I've learned that from what you told me there. So that is could be another point, being able to take constructive criticism, not thinking my way or the highway. You understand? So it is important that we be able to take constructive criticism so that we can move on as well. Because sometimes we don't always see that the things that we are doing that could be hurting ourselves and hurting other people. So taking constructive criticism, I'm not talking about somebody just being hurtful and hateful to you, but somebody show you something that you did or to them that you wasn't even aware of that was hurting that person. And when you found out, you realize, all right, I come to terms with that. You forgive yourself. You ask, say sorry, and you move on. Don't live in that place of, feeling, oh, how I could I do that and this, it sometimes we deal with a lot of people, different cultures, different ways of dealing with things, and sometimes you may not know. You may hurt somebody by how you behave or your words you say or you didn't say. So it is important that, taking constructive criticism is important as well as we go through this transition.
Another thing I would like to say, if I'm being permitted to do such,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
um, you see this stage in our lives, pre the actual menopause and post, we can fall into a mood of fall easily into mood of depression. It's an effort. Number one, we have to thank the higher being for living this life and reaching this stage and this age.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, the effort, I want people to understand that the effort doesn't go in vain. You have made an effort to reach 55, 60, 65 and beyond, it doesn't become an effort anymore. It just becomes a way of life because all your effort has been added for you to now not have this problem of finding an effort to the solution. So we have reached that age. We need to be proud of ourselves for reaching this age. Probably we can look back and see, the women who didn't make it because they didn't have an advisor like Dr. Khan and Miss Nurse, and even the people who sit here, because some of us, we will give our little our little synopsis about what we are going through or what we have learned that other persons went through. So we are now able to sort of help ourselves. And this, I think, is the objective, one of the main objective of having the group. I thank Dr. Khan and listeners and all my colleagues on the side here. I thank them. So I am saying to you, do not emphasize too much and think that you are the person who needs to be fixed or I'm not looking this good anymore. Feel proud about yourself. Work with yourself. Some women love to just be flamboyant, and some prefer to have themselves very very mild. Some people would like a different hairstyle, as the case may be. To it, pamper yourself, right? And remember that we take time to make everything work, right? So everything will work, but love yourself. You feel to go somewhere, this stage in your life, go somewhere. You feel to call somebody and have a little chat on, do such, right? They may want to go, they may want to invite you. Some of us, we reach this stage and we don't want to go anywhere. We want to sit at home and become this person who is just sitting and probably taking the normal shower, getting up every morning because we already retire or we close to retiring, and we just say, aha, I want to just mitigate into sitting down and looking at this television all right. So we having a particular show and all right, I'm looking at that. And that becomes your norm. You start to put on weight, you start to do all the adverse things that you don't want come about. You wouldn't even know it. Get up and do something, release yourself, go somewhere, chit chat with somebody, call somebody. You must have somebody to say yes or no to something. That is just my little advice at the age of 64. Right? I live a very, not careless life, but I live a very free life. Sometimes things are done, but I try, according to Nurse and Dr. Khan, put it in the back and move on, because having it there, it will just make things worse. Say, higher being, take it away. Sorry to make this mistake, I'm going forward. And that's what works for me. Thanks again for the time. I know I've overspoken, but thanks again.
Thank you very much for your contribution, Ms. Atwell, and everybody in general. It is important that we say, we say what we need to say, because we don't know if that may be helping somebody else. So be kind to ourselves, ladies. We are important, we have value, we have worth, we are not invisible because we are going through a certain transition or we reach a certain age bracket, right? Even though people may make you want to think that you are invisible at this time, you are not invisible, you are important, you are valuable. Always say that to yourself because it is true. So, on that note, I want to say thanks you everyone for tuning in to the Healthy Reset and for such an active, lively session. And I want to say at this time that we have reached at least 10 plus 11,000 on YouTube, and that too is because of your constant support and for telling others about it. We women, we need it. We need to support one another. We really need each other at this point in time. And I want to say thank you, and you all were and are the inspiration for me in particular to that was the catalyst for me to start this online. That was the drive that I had, because I realized that women were struggling just like me, and they had nowhere to go. A lot of people were laughing. They go to the doctors, they go to, talk to friends, and people were just saying them, go. I've heard women say, go home and drink. People say, go home and drink some tea and go in your bed. And you're struggling with this transition. So women were the catalyst going through this, were the catalyst for me and what I was going through myself to start this online channel. And with the support of Dr. Khan, who was very open-minded and willing, here we are. And so I want to say thank you all again for the support, and we will grow from strength to strength. So let us give each other a round of applause for being this kind of support that we are here on this channel, and the support we are to our families. So thanks again, ladies. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you for your time. Have a blessed night. Good night to all.
Good night. Good night, all.
Good night. Good night, ladies.
Maria, thank you, Maria.
You're
Good
welcome.
night.
Good night.
night.
Good night.
Good night,
Good night,
Maria.
ladies. Good
Everyone.
night. Good